Let's go ahead and get started with our first story. First story is kind of tragic, and you may go, Jason, that's quite insensitive. You're trying to turn this into something that it may not be. And I'm very aware of that. So I'm going to try to tread lightly in a sense. But I do think it's a very interesting story, and I think the way it's being reported is very interesting. January 2019. This happened probably right before my vacation started. There was a dude in Paterson, New Jersey named Jameek Lowry. Now, Jameek Lowry calls up 911 and is like, I took a bunch of ecstasy. I'm totally freaking out. There are these shadow people on the walls. They're haunting me, man. They're haunting me. He ends up being taken to the hospital because he's just totally out of it. And they're trying to treat him for it. He's having basically an ecstasy overdose. And he's seeing these shadowy figures all around him. This is a true story, by the way. This isn't creepypasta. I guess I should have started it off like that. And he gets freaked out. And he leaves the hospital. He leaves the hospital. They're going to kill me, man. They're going to kill me. And this is what I mean. It's interesting because when the news article, when he's saying they'll put in parentheses what they think he means. But anyway, so he leaves the hospital. A while later, he walks into a police station. And when he gets into the police station, this is a quote from the article. At one point, Lowry seems to be hallucinating, saying, I saw them by the wall. I see them. I see them. Yo, they're trying to kill me. An officer then shines his flashlight at the wall and calmly says, ain't nobody there. Lowry replies, he's right there. Walk over there. The police are trying to kill me. They think I'm a witness. They think I'm fucking with the FBI. He alternates between ranting, pleading for help, and admitting, I'm just paranoid. That's it. So, first he talks about these shadowy people on the wall. Cops are trying to reassure him there's nothing there. When he says the police are trying to kill me because they think I'm fucking with the FBI, it's his family after spoiler alert, he doesn't live through the night. But after he passes away, his family says that there was an FBI investigation going on in the area, and he got it in his head that he was somehow a suspect, even though he had nothing to do with what was going on. So I think he probably had some paranoid delusions before this happened. But so he goes to the police station, and he pulls out his phone, and he's videotaping himself. And that's why we have all these quotes. He goes to the police station, and he's totally freaking out, and he's talking about creatures on the wall. And then he switched to the cops are going to kill me because the FBI and all this stuff. And the whole time he's asking for water. He goes, I'm so dehydrated, I just need water. Now, there's about 5 or 6 cops standing around him at this point because you have this totally erratic guy in your police station. And the cops are like, they say, I can't give you water. I can't give you any water. And people are like, why can't the cops give him water? And they're actually, it's protocol because they said, we don't know what he was on. And we don't know if water will make it worse. Because there are some toxins that you need to get out of your system, and if you put water in, it'll make it worse. So until he gets taken to the hospital, they don't know what he's on. Now what's interesting is that here he says, the police are trying to kill me, they think I'm a witness, blah, blah, blah. Later on, he leaves another video, or he says in a different point in the video, he says, if I'm dead by the next hour or two, they did it. I didn't touch them at all. And the article puts in that they means the police. This is my theory. Again, maybe a little insensitive. But could they be the things that were on the wall? Was he really being plagued? Was doing the drug and having this psychotic breakdown and letting him see these creatures that had been stalking him and giving him paranoid delusions? And you think, Jason, that's quite insensitive and 100% not true. But here's where the mystery lies. The cops end up saying, you got to go to the hospital, dude. Like, you're totally freaking out. You need water. We can't give you water. We don't know what you took. Let's put you in the hospital. The cops call an ambulance. The ambulance shows up. The cops have to take him and they put him in the ambulance. And the ambulance people are like, okay, this guy's obviously on something. We're going to take him to the hospital. Everything's going to be fine. They get to the hospital. The dude is bashed up. It's a 5 to 12 minute ride to the hospital. By the time they get to the hospital, he's completely unconscious, placed in a life support, dies 2 days later. Broken cheekbone, fractured eye socket, somebody kicked the crap out of him. The ambulance staff is like, whatever happened, it did not happen in our ambulance at all. didn't happen. There weren't a bunch of cops back there beating him up. When the cops put him in, they did have to restrain him to put him in the ambulance, but the ambulance drivers were watching it. Now, you could say maybe everyone's covering for each other, but the ambulance drivers really don't have any reason to cover for these cops. Because the ambulance drivers are being held responsible. They're like, why did this guy get picked up? And then when he comes out, his face is bashed in. And the ambulance drivers are like, we don't know. Like, it makes them look suspicious. They could have been like, well, the cops were treating him a little rough, you know. Cops put him in the back of the ambulance. The ambulance drives to the hospital. The dude arrives completely unconscious, beat up. The cops are like, we put him in the ambulance. We had nothing to do with it. He dies 2 days later. The cops are on administrative leave. They're investigating the ambulance drivers. And nobody's pointing the finger at each other. They're both saying, we don't know. That's what makes the story weird. Now, it's possible that he gave obviously, the most logical explanations are he was roughed up by the police and the ambulance drivers are covering for it. He was roughed up by the ambulance personnel and the police are covering for them. He inflicted the injuries himself in his psychotic delusion. Those are the more likely scenarios. But this is a paranormal conspiracy and true crime podcast. And when I read this article, I was like, that's kind of creepy. He's hallucinating these things. He thinks they're going to kill him. Then he thinks the cops are going to kill him. And then he thinks the FBI is going to kill him. And he dies. Was something else in that ambulance with that young man? Creepy. Creepy story. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.